Greetings and peace. Welcome to the channel of 13scienceastrology.com. My name is Imhotep. I'm going to be doing this video on the Force. Now, when I talk about the Force, I'm speaking of it from a perspective of Star Wars. Those of you that have seen Star Wars know that, they always say, may the Force be with you, or the Force this and the Force that. And they always talk about the Force. But they explain what the Force is, through different parts of Star Wars. But there's a lot of metaphysical and occult background behind the whole topic of the Force. Now, to really get into understanding the Force, the first thing you have to do is go into the meaning of it, of course. You guys that watch my videos know I always start with the meaning of a thing, because it's the meaning and the origins of a thing that will help you to understand the essence and the truth of it. So when you start talking about the Force and you research it, you'll find out that the Force deals with strength, fortitude, things of that nature. So most people, when they think about force or strength, they think about physical fortitude. They think about somebody forcing someone to do something physically, or they think about a big, strong, muscular male. This is a forceful looking male or whatever, because they're physically strong. So they can, and people in our realm, we equate words and meanings to words from a physical perspective. And that's cool, but when you start getting into a fourth dimensional when you start looking at words from a fourth dimensional reality, you're going to have to begin to put definitions on words from more of a spiritual point of view, because the spiritual goes back further than the physical. The physical is the byproduct of the spiritual. So when you start looking at words, you want to go to the root of them and define them from a spiritual point of view. And from a spiritual point of view, one can force you mentally. You see, force starts out as a mental concept, because when you deal with power and strength, you cannot become powerful or strong if you're not mentally there first. You have to have it up here mentally. So we know that when we deal with force, we're dealing with the mind. We're dealing with strength of mind. And somebody, if their mind is strong, they can corner you in and defeat you in a battle based on having a strong mind, without ever using any physical, as far as themselves, like without them using any physical force themselves personally. They can use their mind to fuck you up. There's people that can do that. And excuse my language, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes I get expressive. But there's people that can really mess you up with their mind. Like some bomb people out here with the mind. And if you want to get some examples of somebody that can mess you up with the mind, just look at the world rulers, the elite. The elites rule you through your mind, mentally. You see, everybody wants to get caught up on physical things, like the Force, being strong and going to the gym and working out. And that's cool. If that's what you do, that's cool. I'm not knocking that, but I'm saying that we need to start challenging ourselves past the physical if we want to understand the fourth dimension, and if we want to understand this new reality and this new realm and this new energy that we're coming into. Because the new energy that we are coming into is dealing with mental concepts, and dealing with concepts that are weightless and not tangible, or as tangible anyway. When I say not tangible, meaning that they aren't material or physical. You see, a lot of people are caught up and into materialism, and they're materialists. We have a lot of materialists, and materialists are really the gods of the Matrix, because the Matrix right now is currently ran by materialists. But these materialists and the gods of the Matrix sell you the material doctrine, but they're dealing with the stuff that we're talking about here, which is the metaphysical doctrine, which is dealing with the plane of force. You know what I'm saying? See, this is what they deal in. They deal with the mental realm, the mental realm. So these people that rule you, they're using these tactics to rule over you, and they're using their minds to rule over you. They get you with the law. You see, they trap you into this matrix by laws. Just like in the movie Devil Advocate, the guy was a lawyer. The devil, Al Pacino, was a lawyer, because they trap you with the law. This is what the devil uses, the law, to trap you. He even used the law in Jesus' time to trap Jesus. So this is when you want to talk about the devil, or those darker minded people that are materialists, that rule the material realm, or what you would call your devil, or which are really your gods in reality, because the God and the devil are really polar opposites of the same thing. So they play God on one end and then they play devil on the other. So those people that are religious, they always want to say God and devil, when really the same group are playing both sides. They're playing God and devil. So go check that out. But anyway, as far as, you know, your people that that run this matrix, they're running this matrix based off of the laws. And they did the same thing in Jesus' time. They always persecute you. They do everything based off legal structure and legal formality. So everything is dealing in law, and they do this from the mind. They create these laws from the mind, and they pass them, and they get you to believe in them. And once you believe in them, then you impress this law upon your own mind. It becomes stained in your mind, and now you believe in this thing. So essentially, they're ruling over you from the mental realm or from the plane of force. And this is all in relationship to what is force. Now, the force, you know, outside of Star Wars, which I may cover a little bit later, but outside of Star Wars, the force is talked about in the occult. And it's talked about from the idea of the fourth dimension, from the idea of the fourth dimension. And in the fourth dimension, it is taught in the occult that the plane of force is equal to the plane of the mental realm. So the plane of force is actually the mental realm. So when someone manifests something physically, they had it up here first. You cannot get muscular and get a strong body and become strong if you're not mentally strong. You cannot overcome this. You cannot, if you're not mentally strong enough to overcome gravity so that you can attain this body and to become physically strong. You have to have it up here first. You cannot do a certain amount of push-ups unless it's here first. Now, a lot of people, a lot of fighters, you know what I'm saying, they already know this, but a lot of the layman people don't realize that just because you have a strong physical body, that your body may be stronger than someone else's in comparison to someone else's, doesn't mean that your mind is stronger than that person. It doesn't mean that, because you have people like Bruce Lee that were very much mentally, they were mental fighters first. And Bruce Lee was not big, but he was strong. Very strong. You know what I'm saying? And he was not a big, he wouldn't look like he could compare to, say, for instance, a Mike Tyson. Like you would think based on size that Mike Tyson would crush Bruce Lee. But then, you know what I'm saying? But you start looking at, if you're basing it off of size or whatever. But then, of course, Bruce Lee was up here. He was mental. So Bruce Lee had tactics. He had tactics out the ass. I mean, he would have definitely destroyed Mike Tyson. I mean, I know a lot of people may be mad about that, but hey, that's how I feel. I mean, I'm a Bruce Lee fan, and that's just how I feel about it. And I know he was very much mental as he was physical. I mean, this is what made him such a great martial artist, because of his mind. You see, he was able to work with his mind. And this is what you are doing when you tap into the plane of force. You're tapping into the mental realm. So when they talked about the force being with you in Star Wars, they were talking about tapping into the mental realm. And the mental realm is intelligent. And this is why they always wished upon someone that was departing. They would always leave them by saying, "May the force be with you." Because this was a prayer. You see, a prayer is a form of asking something. So when they say, "May the force be with you," this was a prayer. And they were leaving them with this prayer because of the fact that the force is intelligent. The force is intelligent, and it's very much governed by the mental realm, and the mind is intelligent. The intellect is at the root of the mind. The ability to decipher and decide. Intellectualism. The force can decide who it's with. So when we see successful leaders and successful gurus and successful guides, the force is with them. The force is with them. And this is why they are successful. When we see successful fighters and successful basketball players and successful baseball players, the force is with them. And this is why they are so successful, because the force is intelligent. And when nature is with you, when someone is in tune with nature, they're in tune with the force. You can tell when someone's in tune with nature because animals they're not feared. They don't fear them. Animals will come to them. Animals will respond to them. Animals will talk to them mentally. The animals will protect them because they're tied into the force. So the force is protecting them, so therefore nature is protecting them. And when the force is with you, nature works with you. And this is why some people, when they do a thing, the weather is always beautiful. When they decide to do a thing on a public level, on a mass level, it seems like the weather is just always great. And everything just goes right because this person is in tune with the force, and the force is with them. And the force can decide who it wants to be with, because the force is intelligent. So you must keep that in mind. Now the force is divided into, because even on the mental realm, we're still dealing with the law of polarity, even on the mental realm. Actually, the law of polarity first manifests on the fourth dimension, or on the plane of force. And the force has two sides to it, based upon the law of polarity. Positive and negative, light and dark. And the force is divided into twos. Now, I can say positive and negative, or light and dark. But really, in reality, let's go a little bit deeper and put two deeper words on it, which kind of can go back to positive and light, or negative and dark. But let's say that the force is divided into consciousness and power. Consciousness and power. The consciousness aspect of the force is the masculine aspect. See, I know a lot of people are like, hold on, but men don't represent power, force, strong. So we would be the power aspect. No. No. See, you are supposed to be a conscious being. As a man, you are supposed to supply your family with consciousness as a male. You are the conscious, or the enlightened one, or the thinker. If you look up the term man, it traces back to the term thinker, because you are a thinker. This is what you are. So you are consciousness. Consciousness is based on thought. So you supply consciousness. The woman denotes power, believe it or not. I know people are throwing off like, man, but the woman is just not, the male should be powerful because we're the big guys, and we're the ones that'll beat somebody up when somebody comes. We're the power, we're the muscle, we're the strength. Yeah, you can still do that. You could beat their ass up here mentally. See, if you got it up here, you don't have to worry about all that fighting and all that stuff. When you're conscious, yeah, you can beat somebody's ass. Yeah, you can beat them. You can beat them without even touching them if you're really conscious. See, a real spiritual master and a real martial artist won't even move and will kill you. It will kill you. Because he's dealing in the plane of force. So if somebody's going to fuck with my family or mess with my family, I'm going to tap into the plane of force and use weather against them. Before they even, when they start thinking about coming to mess with me, I'm going to tune in and tap into their mind and tap into the universal mind of the force and figure out what's going on, or the collective mind, the mind of collective consciousness, which is actually what the force is too. I'm going to tap into the mind of collective consciousness and fuck their ass up if they mess with my family. And that's real talk, you know what I'm saying? So I don't have to go out here and physically fight or anybody. I don't have to be big Bruno and big and strong, and I don't have to fight somebody, you know what I'm saying? Because if you're really in tune with consciousness, you'll know that they're coming at you, and you'll know how to put up a defense mechanism to stop them. Before they even get close to even try to bomb you, whatever they're trying to do, before they even get to that point, depending on how deeply you are connected to the force, you'll be able to withstand any attack made against you if you're dealing on the mental realm. So yeah, the male is still the muscle, and he's still the strength, as far as from the conscious strength and the protecting agent. He's still that. But the female is power. She represents power. When a male has a female next to his side, he is said to, this is why kings had to be married, and this is why presidents have to be married, because you have to have a woman to be in power. If you have a woman next to you, or women in your ciphers, you're not a king. You know what I'm saying? You have to have a woman in your cipher to be considered powerful. I have to have a woman next to you. This is what denotes power. So the woman, based on my drawing of the force, the woman is represented by power. The woman is powerful sexually. And in this realm, we measure consciousness and energy based upon sexuality. And the woman is more powerful and potent than the male sexually. The more you penetrate her, not to get too vulgar here, I'm not trying to disrespect anyone, I'm just going to make this point, but the more you penetrate her, the more that, because I have videos, where I talk about sex and get more in depth, and some people don't like that type of stuff, so I'm being respectful here, because some people may be watching this video may not be into that type of deeper sexual occult stuff, so I'm just going to make this point because it is relevant in dealing with the female aspect of the force. So the more you penetrate a woman, the more sexually turned on she'll get. You know what I'm saying? She'll get more and more sexually turned on the more you penetrate her. So the woman is more sexually potent. She can just go really forever based on penetrate. Her sexual libido is based upon feeling encouraged and based upon penetration. And I'll leave it at that. So the woman is represented by power. The male is represented by consciousness. And this is on a deeper level. Now this is past women and men. When you tap into the force, you're tapping into power and consciousness. And when you work with the force, you work with it based on power, you work with it based on consciousness in order for you to tap into it. You can also work with the force based upon light and dark. There's a dark aspect of the force, and then there's a light aspect of the force. Just like you have melatonin, which is darker aspect of chemicals that are secreted by the pineal gland, and then you have serotonin, which is the light aspect of chemicals that are secreted by the pineal gland. So you have a light and a dark with everything, and it's the same thing with the force. The force is divided up into the light and the dark. So you have the consciousness aspect, you have the subconscious, which is a division. You have the subconscious, and then you have the conscious mind, and that's the conscious aspect of the force. The subconscious is the subtle realm, or the subtle aspects of the force, or basically what you would call the lower energy, not lower in the sense of weaker, but lower in the sense of darker, more in depth, more of a darker, more potent actually even. This is the darker aspect of the force. This is actually the violent aspect of the force. This is where your tornadoes come from. When you tap into the force on that level, this is how tornadoes come. They come from the more potent, darker aspect of the force. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with darker type of energy. Because the force is very much basically energy. And then, as you know, in the occult and metaphysics, we teach that spirituality is equal to energy, or it equates to energy. They're equal. So you can't be spiritual if you are not an energetic being, if you don't have energy. And I'm not just saying energy in the sense of being awake and being strong. Don't think about it on a physical level. I'm saying having energy to be able to tap into the realm of telepathy, to be able to pick up on people's thoughts. You need energy to do that. And the force is the energy that supplies psychics with what they do. It supplies martial artists with what they do. It supplies lions with what they do. It supplies women dealing in child labor with what they do in the child labor process. The force is very much a part of every aspect of physical reality. It goes back to the force, and that's why the force has to be with one in order for one to be successful in the physical realm. Now, the last part of this is the power aspect. I went into the conscious aspect of the subconscious or the subtle, and then the conscious, which I'll tap on, is the light aspect. So you have the subconscious, which is the dark aspect of consciousness, and then you have the conscious aspect, which is the light aspect of the conscious side of the force. And the light aspect is dealing with those things that are known consciousness. The light aspect of things, getting energy from the sun. This is dealing with when you go out and you get energy from the sun, you are tapping into the light aspect of force. This is the lighter aspect of it. Dealing in singing and dealing in chanting and all of that. This is the light aspect of the force. This is creating solar energy or light energy. This is the light side of the conscious aspect of it. And then you get into the power aspect of it. Now, the power aspect is based upon voltage. It's based upon voltage. And basically, when you deal with voltage, you are dealing with power. And your soul is basically, there's different, like when you say someone is like a gifted person, or like a genius, or like a genius seed or something like that, it's based upon their soul being having a certain potency. Genius is based upon your soul having a certain voltage. This is what genius is based on. So a baby that is a genius versus a baby that is not, the thing that separates them is their voltage, how much power they have. This is actually feminine energy, though, believe it or not. This is what we would call yin energy. So we tapping into voltage, or basically we're dealing with voltage when it comes to dealing with the power aspect of it, and the different voltage levels. Like ants, for instance, they have voltage, but their voltage is much weaker than, say, for instance, the human level of voltage. So this is what you're dealing with when you're dealing with the force or whatever. You're dealing with power, you're dealing with consciousness, and then basically when you're dealing with this power, you're dealing with voltage, and how much power you have is based upon how much voltage you have. Now, you can increase your voltage, believe it or not. You can increase your voltage, and that's through learning how to work with chi. See, people think that we're crazy, like people that's into this meditation and crystals and stuff, and they're like, oh, you guys are talking about this good energy, everything's energy. What energy are you talking about? I don't see it. Energy is everything. Energy is everything. And energy, you can extract chi from energy, and chi is what will help to increase your voltage level. And this is what will help your soul to be attracted to the heavenly realm and to not come back. Because if you come back to this realm, believe this, buddy, this realm is controlled by the Satanists and the Luciferians. And if you don't want to come back to this realm, you have to become light. You have to have enough levity so that your soul can be attracted to the solar realm or the higher aspects of the astral realm upon your death. And you do this by getting chi. believe it or not. See, chi makes you lighter. Your voltage means, or how much power you have, is based upon how light you are. You see, it's not based upon people. That's what I'm saying. We got this mental concept of looking at power and strength, and we think about, I got to eat all this food, eat all this steak and all this meat, and I'll pump myself up with all this pork and all these pills so that I can be strong, and these steroids so I can be strong. When power is based upon being light. You see, and this is like, people that are in martial arts know what I'm talking about. See, because in martial arts they teach the opposite of things. See, what you believe here in the Matrix is based upon a materialist, a Satanist mentality. And when you get into martial arts schools, this is the Eastern mentality. And the Eastern mentality is, you know, the opposite of the Western, which is dealing with the occult aspect behind everything. And when you study martial arts and things like that, you'll know that you have to be light to be a good fighter. You have to be light. It's not, you have to be loose. You can't be all big and strong and tight and going to the gym and working out and you're all tight and your muscles can't stretch themselves. You have to be light, flexible. You have to be able to stretch. The more flexible you are, the better a fighter you are. And this goes for boxing and all of that. You have to be flexible. You have to be light. You have to be willing to move around. That's why fighters do a lot of walking and running and not spending a lot of time getting all big and strong like wrestlers and stuff like that, because they have mastered. They're getting into being light. But martial artists have really mastered it. They've really mastered it. And this is what they're doing when they're tapping into the Force. Now, the Jedis in Star Wars were tapping into the Force, and this is what gave them their power. And the Jedis were synonymous with vampires and things like that. They're synonymous with the Jedis. And vampires tap into the plane of Force to get their powers. People that are spiritual or occult gurus that know how to do certain things, what they're doing is they're just simply tapping into the plane of Force, and this is how they learn how to do these things. And they're working with that energy. So that's basically my spiel on the plane of Force in relationship to Star Wars and what it means. If you have any questions, you can visit my website, 13signsastrology.com, or you can send me an email, 13signsastrology@gmail.com, with any questions pertaining to the occult or metaphysics, and I'll be glad to make a video for you. So until we meet again, my friend, I'll leave you in peace.